Alrighty then. Let me shut this thing down, get everything going. It's just me waiting on James. I'm thinking that something heinous has happened, and we'll catch up and find out what happened to James later. But let's talk about SPF 101. We're not going to talk about James because he's not here, and you shouldn't do that. That's not polite. The SPF 101, the foundation for new authors as well as established authors. How do you fill in those holes in your foundation? So what are some foundational things that you need to do? Think about that. The first question, we're going to give away 3 SPF courses, SPF 101 courses today. Oh, hey, look at that. Look at that. Look who's here. Hey, James. We're actually already live, so you're live. Everybody's looking at you right now and judging. Did you lose your razor too? You and Mark both, man. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Am I live? Am I live?
Gotcha. There we go.
There we go. We are live already, James. So
wow. Yeah. So does that mean the first they saw of me was trying to work out how to turn my microphone on? Okay.
Yes, that's clearly. Yeah,
that's it. How I like to look, professional.
Yeah, we thought something heinous happened to you, like a bike ride. Craig Martelle coming to you live from the subarctic. This is the C&M show, episode 108, and we're talking SPF 101 Foundation for an Author's Business with James Blatch. Where are you coming to us from today, James?
I am in Huntingdon, sunny Huntingdon in the UK. So about 20 miles north of Cambridge, the original Cambridge, not the East Coast one, and about 60 miles north of London. So we're in commuter belt. This is like okay. I guess if you're 45 minutes an hour outside New York, everyone lives there and works in the city. It's the same here. So all my friends, although of course they have not been into London for 6 months. But
good call. And healthier because of it. Look at you. Look at that color to your skin, a little scruffiness, like man about the town. Yeah.
Because a former Marine, of course, you shave every day.
I don't anymore. I actually would be the goatee, but I have a CPAP fitting coming up, and I want to make sure. And also, I'll be flying to Vegas in a week to work on Vegas 2021. I'll be going to Bally's. I'll be staying at Bally's for an entire week and embracing the aura, seeing everything there is to see, making sure our facilities every day. I'll be walking through the facilities to get it in my mind so I can make sure that I set up the show optimally, that I don't try to set something up that's not going to fly. So that's all the good things. And
can't wait.
We're doing 3 SPF 101 giveaways today. So the first question, answer these questions 3. So the first question, in order to be for the first giveaway, is where are you coming to us from? We'll catalog those answers over the next 20 minutes, and then our crack admin team will select somebody, and we'll announce you on the show, and then we'll get your email later to get you into the course. So thank you. So James, SPF 101. What does the course consider the foundational elements of an author business?
I think the first thing we're saying about 101 is this is what we set out to do. In 2015, when Mark approached myself and John Dyer, and he phoned me up, and we then had a coffee at the BFI just down the road from where we had our conference actually in London. This was his idea, the 101 course. So he said that he had, he was a couple of years into self-publishing. It was a dream come true for him. He'd always wanted to be a writer. He was about to quit his day job, and he wanted to teach other people to do it. He saw an opportunity there, both morally, it was in a big area to expand on, and commercially. So we got together, we formed the company, and we started to work out what this course would entail. And it very quickly became quite a monster. And it almost killed Mark. He almost stopped. So we had a moment in the middle there where SPF almost didn't happen. And we pulled back from it. We talked him down a little bit from the ledge, and we focused down on one element that he thought he got absolutely right and he could teach, and it would be containable. So that was Facebook ads. So that was Facebook ads for authors. That course came out, and then we built on that a little bit. But a year or maybe a year and a half later, he wanted to go back. He wanted to do the 101 course. Felt we had more time. I was up to speed at that point, because remember when I met him, and I'd been fiddling about writing stories like a lot of us had since I was a kid, but I'd done nothing with them and knew nothing about publishing and knew less about self-publishing. But a year later, I was in a position where I'd got to know a lot of the the countryside, if you like, of self-publishing, and I understood the tools and was helping out. So with that in mind, the two of us sat down. He really sketched out the course. I remember doing it over in Salisbury over a weekend. It is a monster course. There's a lot of elements to it. It takes you through. The idea is from the moment you've written the end on your manuscript, so you've done your editing. We don't cover editing. We don't cover craft. Don't cover story. Don't cover what genre you should write, and all of that stuff is discussed ad nauseum by all of us, and I love talking about it. But that's not what this course is. This course is how to then sell that book. We talk a little bit about writing choices when it comes to series, for instance, work better very often when you're marketing than standalone books and so on. So there's some discussion on that, but this is about formatting it. What does your book say in the first few pages? What goes immediately after the end, at the end? How does your mailing list work? What platform do you host it on? What do you link your mailing list to? When you run an ad, how do you run that? How do you actually set up one of those ads? And we go through the hand-holding process of every detail of everything you need to set up your author platform, and leave you with a few decisions to make, like wide and exclusive. There's a discussion on that. There's no right or wrong, whether you want a bigger author website or just a simple landing page. These are decisions to make. So you can kind of do the course and tailor it to you. So you want to do a really low cost startup, you can do that. If you want this to be a bit more all singing, dancing, if your fan base require more servicing through a web space, then you can tailor it to that as well. So that's basically is the course. I mean, it's grown even more since then, of course. But
talking about author platforms, one of the things that I always encourage new authors to do is please select something and stick with it for a little while until you establish your readership. Because if you're flighty, if your brand isn't solid, if you're a fireball on politics over here, but then over here you want to be the sweet romance author and just talk about love and happy ever after, and then over here you're talking about demons possessing souls, and you really need to have a consistent brand set up. If you want to do wildly disparate things like, hey, I need to write erotica to make money, but I want to write sweet romance over here, then a pen name, but you have to establish a single brand first. Even if you only have one book, make sure you establish that brand. Don't be at odds with that brand when you get set up, especially from the outset. You have to. My first 4 books were in 3 different genres, and it took me until 13 books to actually get traction because I needed to have that 3rd book in a series, and then I could push that first book, and all of a sudden, hey, my sales went. It was the logarithmic curve where it took just a sharp turn upward, because finally it's like I could get traction. People could get that first book, then go into the 2nd book, then go into the 3rd book. I'd sell 3 books at one time, and my marketing dollars way down for revenue. And those are the good things that I think SPF 101 is trying to teach. Plus, one of the lessons that Mark learned, one of his books, he did a grand giveaway, got a BookBub featured deal, gave away, what did he say? Almost 100,000 copies. And he didn't have a link to a newsletter sign up in the back of the book.
Yeah. So that was all wasted.
It was a lot wasted because very few people are going to go hunt you down. You need to make it easy for people to give you their money. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous that you should have, hey, why people should just want to give me their money. No, nobody ever just wants to give you their money. So you just make it easy. At the end of book 1, you have that link to book 2. You have the link to the review, whatever is the most important to you, that you have your newsletter because you don't know when book 2 is coming out. Something like that where you can keep them on the hook. You've cast your bait out there and you're reeling and you got that bite. You got to keep them on the hook.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that you need to do as a new author is find a way to connect with those new readers and keep them on the hook, because you don't know when your second book is coming out or your third book, and until you've built that rhythm and that productivity into your machine.
Yeah, and I think the mailing list is such an important part of the 101 course, and it is still a very important part, I think, of an author getting going. And there are still people who say, I don't want to do a newsletter, I haven't got anything to say, and sort of misunderstanding the role that the mailing list has. Think of it as a mailing list, not a newsletter, first and foremost. And Amazon, best will in the world, are never going to give you the email addresses of the people who are buying your book. And for all we know, it might happen. Amazon might undergo one of these attacks that seem to be more frequent at the moment, to get shut down for a month, and it's almost unthinkable, but could happen at some point. You do need to have your own audience who you can talk to, and it's not all small questions like, how do I get reviews, how do I get help on choosing the type of direction for my novels? All these questions are answered by an active and vibrant mailing list. But without that, life does become more difficult, and you give yourself, you've talked at the beginning about writing in different genres. I know people who write in 3 or 4 different genres, and they know that they're making life more difficult for themselves, but they can't help themselves because they want to chop and change. There are ways, and the earlier you do this, and the earlier you get your mindset right on this, there are ways of making this easier for you, making it more likely that you're going to sell books. You can still make those decisions, right, Craig? You can still say, I'm going to write in 3 genres under 2 different pen names or whatever, but at least you're making those with your eyes open. You're not sitting there going, I don't understand why I'm not selling books. Because not understanding is what we want to get away from. We want to have an understanding of what's going on.
I think we have a clear majority in that you rival Daniel Craig as regards to sexiness of your accent.
Wow.
So
not the chiseled beard.
I'm gonna. No, yeah, your video's off right now, actually, so that's doing you favors.
Oh, it is?
No, it's not. I lied.
Oh.
I have the Alaskan pallor, and it's only October. Imagine what I'm going to look like in March.
I can't imagine it. I do want to come up there and visit this magical land, but I can't imagine. I mean, this time of year when the sun starts to set earlier and come up earlier, it does dip you a little bit, I think, in terms of the vitamins and stuff in your body. How you survive up there in the dark, I don't know, Craig.
We extra vitamin D. We have lights called Happy Lights, which are UV lights. I haven't used one yet. I mean, we've lived up here 8, 9 years, 10 years maybe, and I haven't used one yet. I just stay so busy that it really doesn't matter. And one of the big things also is getting the hell out of here in the absolute dead of winter over Christmas, New Year's. We used to think, oh yeah, you have to spend Christmas at home. Hell no, not when you're up in the northern tip of Norway is comparable to if you're in UK. That's the latitude that we're even with. So imagine being on the northern tip of Norway in the winter. Yeah, nobody wants that. So getting the hell out of here. Last year we spent 3 weeks out of here. We went to Fiji. We went to Southern Australia. We came back with nice tans. It makes a world of difference. This year we're thinking about going to Hawaii because we can travel to Hawaii. We can't travel out of the States right now, but Hawaii requires you got to have a negative COVID test in order to get there as of right now. So it may be logistically difficult to get there. But getting out of here right in that deep part, that 2 weeks away, is the key. If we can't do that this year, it will be a challenge.
Well, even Father Christmas leaves the North Pole at Christmas time, doesn't he? He doesn't spend Christmas Day there. He's maybe he's back by Christmas Day. I don't know. I understand that. And I've been to Tromsø. I went up when I was a reporter. I went up with the Royal Air Force for a detachment for a couple of weeks up into the Arctic Circle, probably 60 miles, 70 miles in a beautiful little place called Tromsø, and it's breathtakingly gorgeous up there.
Yeah,
we were there in March, so the snow was like 3 meters either side of the road, and we were driving in these valleys where the snow had been a big, heavy snow winter. The clarity of the water, when you looked into the sea at the harbour in Tromsø, you could see to the bottom as if it was a couple of feet deep. Actually, it was like 20 feet deep. Yeah. But it was just so crystal clear up there. And it makes you realise how much clag, particularly where we are in Western Europe. I think there's a lot of industrial belt in Germany and France. and the UK, and this slowly fills up the air quality and the water quality. But yeah, so there's a plus side to it, all that clarity. But I would miss the sunlight.
Well, the air is crystal clear up where I live, about 10 miles outside of the throbbing metropolis of Fairbanks, which has 30,000 people. And even with people doing wood burning, we're so scattered that the air is crystal clear. The snow stays so white that it almost looks blue. It's really, and you have all these different flavors of white. There's just snow on the trees because the trees are so cold, the snow doesn't melt. It's just there and stays there. So it's really wondrous. However, you step out into it, and the shock of the air hitting your lungs is enough to make you beg for buttermilk. So here it is. We're 15 minutes in. What do we say? The crack admin team, could you pick a winner, the first winner of an SPF 101 course? And this is 20 books to 50K in conjunction with SPF. We gave away 3 courses, and they actually let us double that and said, hey, we'll make it 6. So we gave away 3 courses last week. We're going to give 3 courses away today. Crack admin team, please pick somebody, and we'll announce them on air. You can just put winner, chicken, dinner, and name them, and we'll name them. Mailing list as opposed to newser. James. I'm assuming James will be back. So, oh my God, you're killing me, man. Here we go.
I don't know what's going on. I've got like really high quality broadband here, but it has been a bit flaky recently. And I think honestly, it's because we have about 100,000 people live around here, and I think 80,000 of them normally in London working, and they're all at home now working. And I think our broadband infrastructure is struggling to catch up.
And that's why I'm on at 3:30 in the morning up here, so I have exclusive access to the cell towers, because I have to go through a cell tower for my internet. But hey, we're good. James left the building, but damn, he was sexy while he was here.
I'm always going to be back.
Do we have a winner? So we were going to talk about mailing list, and let's talk about the efficacy of that mailing list. I know Mark Dawson chalks up a lot of his success, especially in new releases, to that list. He doesn't have to advertise. He just sends to the list, even though, yes, he paid and advertised to get people onto that list. But that new release, he's set up for 10, 20,000 sales based on targeting that mailing list. So do we have a winner yet?
Let's have a look. And if you really want to understand the power of the mailing list, not just Mark, but have a chat with Lucy Score at some point. So Lucy and Tim run their operation. We had a chat the other week, and I remember we'd had them on the podcast a year or so ago. But Lucy's mailing list is incredibly powerful. I think it's also 100,000 strong. She was telling us she made a small, created a character, and it had a similar name to another author's character. She reached out and said, look, I'm going to change it. I hadn't realized. And so she was about to offer him a slot on her mailing list, basically to say, just to make up for it, let me push your latest book. And he was just a little bit sniffy about it. So, well, you could have checked beforehand. And so she thought, oh, well, I won't offer him that. And I'm thinking, what an idiot. He has no idea the power of her mailing list, the power of loyalty there is to Lucy Score as a brand and to her as an individual. And that is she is an absolute rocket scientist, superstar in our world. And the way she's built that mailing list and the loyalty she extracts from it is incredible. So yes, more for him, that man who I won't mention.
The mail, that's your connection. And especially if you can, I've been using Send Check It. I also used a mail program to check to see if it's spammable based on, that was something I learned from David Gogren. I don't even remember what that website is. I've got it written down somewhere. But
ConvertKit has that built in. I'm not sure. In fact, Infusionsoft has it built in as well, but I'm not sure how good it is. Basically counts the links, I think, and if you put too many links behind pictures, it doesn't seem to like. But one of the best ways is to send the email to yourself and a couple of friends beforehand and see how many junk boxes it goes into.
Yeah, with a variety. Make sure you get a Gmail. Make sure you get a Yahoo. Make sure you get a Hotmail, and see where it goes. And I've had much better success lately. I shifted over to SendFox to get a fresh start, and have been using Send Check It for the subject line to make sure that it's not automatically going to go to spam boxes. And one of the biggest trigger words you can use is free. If you use free in your subject line, it's going to go right to spam or someplace else where you don't want it to go. So we had David Kelly, the general manager from SendFox, on. And this guy, he's passionate about email marketing. I've never seen anybody like you see people talk about, hey, golfing, about their hobbies. Yeah. This guy talked about email marketing like it was his hobby.
But that's what you want, right? That's what you want from the guy running an email marketing service. If you spoke to a NASA rocket engineer and he said, oh, I'm not that bothered about it, I'm much more interested in my baseball, you wouldn't get on his rockets. So you want your guy to be enthusiastic. And the SendFox team are, I mean, there's a few new names around this area, and it is a growth area, I think, for niche, because a lot of the MailChimp's really, for me, going off the board at the moment. I know a lot of people still use it, but the pricing's really hiked up recently. And it's a service that's too broad and too general. I think there's definite scope for us in this sector having more dedicated email service providers.
Yeah. And there's a lot out there. There are a number of email service providers. I think we have some folks who have started their own. I believe that's Nick Thacker. He started one. And as I learned out from David Kelly, it's Aweber, because Aweber. I thought it was Auber. And he said, oh, it's Aweber. I'm like, oh, man, they should use Auber. I think that's much cooler. Yeah. But anyway.
I think I've always said Aweber, but maybe that's an Alaskan thing to see it in Auber. Auber.
Auber. It's awesome. Okay. but those different providers, because MailChimp, they started, I don't know what they did, but they started charging. And then I was grandfathered in, and all of a sudden I wasn't. And I had a 2,000 person list that I was paying $120 a month for. So I canceled that stuff in a hurry. And they lost any kind of support they had from me, because they said I was grandfathered, and then, sorry, that didn't last very long. So
so I think we have a winner.
We have a winner. Ellie.
Let's scroll back.
Scroll. Cross. Ellie Cross. Congratulations. And I don't know where Ellie came to us from, because there's so many comments that they're just flying by. And so thank you. Congratulations, Ellie. SPF 101. Now, the thing with courses and self-help books and things like that, I remember some of the less than flattering threads after Mark posted, and after Mark hit number 13 on the London Times list, some less than flattering posts, and people said, oh yeah, I bought SPF 101, I bought Ads for Authors, and I hadn't done it, but if that's how he gets his ranking, I'm not going to take it. Well, guess what? Your book sales aren't going to take off if you don't. Just buying a course doesn't help. And this was SPF 101. Those who have taken it, those who have adhered to its lessons, and Ads for Authors is another one. You get homework, real homework that you need to do in order to start building that momentum and understand and learn how to manipulate your ads, because nobody can manipulate your ads for you. You have to test, see how to get into that crack, and then pull that crack open and see the world beyond. That's so individual. The courses, SPF shows you how to do that, but they don't do it for you. So this is something, if you buy a course, if you read a book, you need to do the things. You can't just buy it and say, I bought the book, now where are my sales? Do
you know, it's our biggest thing outside of keeping the courses up to date. And I've been working on Facebook ads all morning for our little publisher Fuse, and just noticed with part of me pleased and part of me sinking inside is that they're about to release a new ads manager, or at least they're changing aspects of it. So that'll be a big re-record for us, but that's that's part and parcel of it. So number one, I suppose, is keeping the courses up to date and as relevant as possible. Number two is making sure people do the courses. And you know what? You would not believe in the online courses space how many people there are running online courses, kind of hoping people don't do them. For them, it's all about the sales. And once they start doing the course, they have a world of hurt in terms of helping. And if the course isn't really up to scratch, updating it. So they're all about sales. Well, we are honestly the other way around. So we do it twice a year. We onboard people. The rest of the year is getting people through the course. And it does require help. Some people are just sit their headphones on like this. pausing, stopping and starting and following it, making notes. Other people require a bit of hand-holding through it and encouragement. And it's a bit overwhelming at first, of course. But yeah, doing the course, it's, you know, it's like anything, right? The book won't write itself, the course won't do itself. And you do need to get stuck in on that front.
What do you guys recommend regarding author brand, about an author and their brand? Because that's foundational to every new business.
Yeah, so we talk a bit about the coordination between everything you do. So what your ads look like, what your mailing list language, your voice is like on your mailing list. In terms of, I don't think we get particularly into kind of corporate style branding for authors in terms of logos and so on. I mean, some people do that, like their publishing company, but honestly, I think your book cover and your blurb are the key things you should be thinking about at this early stage when you're in 101. But what you do need to get right, and you alluded to this earlier, is your voice, the look and feel of who you are needs to be consistent across everything. One of the first things we look at, someone says this ad isn't working, or I'm not getting read through from book 1 to book 2. We look at that consistency of voice between. So if the headline on the ad doesn't match the cover, if the cover and the headline on the ad don't match the landing page on or the Amazon page, these are the disconnects that break the chain of somebody going through to making a purchase. So in terms of brand, it's, you know, you can almost brand some slightly almost abstract concept for some people. And they don't quite understand what you mean when you say you've got to get your brand back, but they do understand. If you're a reader and your journey starts with a Facebook ad through to the point of possibly buying a book, is it all the same? Is it the same reinforcing colors and language and title and offer? You know, is the offer that you start with the one that you're going to get in the end? That's so important. And unfortunately, quite easy to get wrong, and quite often is wrong when people come to us and post into our Facebook groups and say, why isn't this working? People say immediately, well, because it looks like a paranormal romance. And then you get there and it's erotica. That's the problem.
Yeah. A big problem. And that's why they might buy book 1, but they don't buy book 2. And if you've got read through of, on a full price sale of book 1, if you've got read through of 10% of book 2, there's a problem with book 1. And that's just all there is to it. And you have to accept that. Put on your business hat. Don't take it personally. Oh, they hate my baby. My baby's ugly. Well, it may be ugly, but still your baby, right? So clean it up, wash its hair, and take it out, put on a new onesie and take it out to the world. So next question for the second. I shouldn't. Which way is bad?
You have to go the Churchillian way is good.
Yeah, don't do it the way I did it.
Yeah. You have already said something that's frankly very disgusting in the UK, but I don't think in America the language is the same. But if there's any, I mean, Elaine I know is on here, but she may have noticed it, but I'm not going to repeat it because it's so rude.
Okay, good. I didn't intend that. I don't ever intend to be rude. That's not my bag, baby. The second question: what genre do you write? And understand, genre equals marketing. So don't sub niche yourself down into where people aren't going to pick up your book, like a paranormal romance. Okay, hey, paranormal romance will probably like my book. Don't sub niche it down so much to a shifter who was raised from the dead who likes weasels. And it's like, why? Stop it. Just go paranormal romance. Go for the biggest genre that's going to give you access to the most readers who might like your book. Don't try to dominate 100% of a market that has 8 readers. That's cool. You'll get your bestseller tag, but you're not going to make any money. And this is, if you want to make this a business and realize the value of your words, genre equals marketing. So you want the biggest one. Sure, you're going to put categories on your book down to that sub niche so you can get that bestseller, so it can look like a bestseller. It's going to have that bestseller tag even in the bigger genres, and you're going to have access to those readers. That's what you want, access to as many readers as possible who could like your book. So that's the second question. We'll give it about 15 minutes and we'll pick another winner. So you talked about something before I went on my long diatribe about nothing.
We were talking about brand a bit, weren't we? And I'm just reading some of the comments coming through, people agreeing that it's a difficult thing to get right at the beginning. And I think a lot happens at the beginning of your writing career. And I can speak from personal experience here, is that you find your writing voice, You find what genres and things that you like writing, and none of that happens instantly. It doesn't happen in the first 3 days of you sitting down to sketch out a book. It happens 2 years into a draft when you're starting to think about book 2 and think, well, I think I might like to do something different. And all of that is a difficult and confusing time for you at the same time trying to create a consistent, commercially saleable set of books. And we're not in the world of black widgets, right? We don't sit around with the engineering saying we can solve this problem that everybody has in their kitchen, like the pedal bin, button at the bottom, which famously was kind of a boardroom thing where they just spitballed what were their problems, what were their hang-ups in the kitchen, came up with that. So that's a kind of simpler way of doing it. But you do sort of have to think like that in the afternoon after you've done your writing session in the morning, to try and bring that consistency. There are a couple of people to look out for. I think, Lucy's absolutely fantastic. Lucy Score I mentioned. Maria Lewis is somebody else who actually did the 101 course as she was planning to write her first couple of books, and used the 101 course to plan not only her launch strategy, but also what she wrote and how she wrote it, because she sort of reversed engineered how the Facebook ad would work through to sale and the mailing list signups would work. So she then planned her 3 books. I think they were kind of ice hockey romance, those first 3, based around how the system of selling worked. Brilliant of her to do that. She loved the writing. She quit her job and is another one of our stars. So she's worth checking out. And I think we've got at least one podcast interview with her. We must get Maria back on, actually, find out how she's doing. It's been a while since we've spoken down there in Nola.
Yeah, follow up on, because I've known quite a few authors who have had their first book was a breakout bestseller, and it was weird. And hey, look at this. One person I knew sold 250,000 copies the first month the book went up for sale, and did no marketing. It was one of those books that just went viral, but couldn't replicate that with the second book and third book and fourth book and fifth book. And now 5 years later has a total of 6 books out. And the latest one had nothing for sales. So it's I think early success, unlike me, it took me 13 books before I actually had a really big seller. And I stayed hungry. I looked to improve. If you have that first book and it's a wild success, you don't know what you did, and you think you can just replicate it without intentionality.
It's actually quite common, I think, in the trad world, isn't it, that they pick up a really strong first book, and you get lots of people who've had traditional deals have had classically that one big success and then nothing really that followed it, and their deals fizzle out. They supply the contractual second and third book, trying to rediscover what it is. But one of the problems with that, Craig, is that by the time you got to book 13, you had a very detailed understanding of why some books sold and some didn't, what worked on covers, what blurb worked, all the rest of it. Your understanding of the landscape was very strong. So you understood a lot more than perhaps you even thought you did at that point, and which led you to writing that 13th book, whenever the one that took off. The problem with the person who in the old model, and it's still happening around here, people sitting there in their bedrooms writing manuscripts, sending them off to agents, being picked up, having, fantastic for them, getting a deal. It's a big success, then they can't replicate it, is they don't know why. They don't know. It was like it was magic. The first book was magic and somehow worked, and now I can't understand why. Whereas you and I talk about this stuff all the time, talk about it commercially in a way that authors didn't used to have these conversations, because they were all behind closed doors in the publishers. So in a much stronger, you can be, if you get involved in communities like 20 Books and SPF, you can be in a much stronger position to understand and improve.
Oh, from the outset. And understand what you're doing. If that first book takes off, great. Especially if you've taken SPF 101, you've got that foundation. You understand here's why, and you can work those things in and have a basic understanding, as opposed to this magical, hey, they just love me, kind of. But they're not going to love you a second time or third time if you don't give them what made that book go viral in the first place. And this is people look at J.K. Rowling in that first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It took Scholastic putting, I want to say like a $3 million advertising budget behind that when it came to the States, before that book really took off in the States. So it took Scholastic saying, hey, we're going all in on this because we believe in it. And keep in mind, what, a dozen different publishers turned down that book. So it's not, it looks different to different people, but this is with a targeted marketing campaign, and then the brilliance of the storyline and the different tendrils, and especially as each book grew, the last book being 250,000 words,
Yes.
first book like 60 or 70,000. It just showed, hey, this is a good thing. And I think that was the biggest pre-sale order ever. It's almost Mark Dawson-like. I think she had 23 million
pre-orders
of a hardback.
Wow.
And I'll tell you that at that time, for that book, I was working as I was putting myself through law school. And in order to help out, because this is me, I'm always helping people out, our rural carrier, our postal carrier, didn't have a backup. So she had worked for 2 years straight without a day off. And I'm like, geez, I can do that. I can spot you a day or two a month. And so I went down, I took the postal test, I passed with flying colors. I got hired, I bought a little postal Jeep, and I delivered the mail every couple of days. And she took the day off when Harry Potter went live, and I had to deliver stacks and stacks of these books. And the worst part was, we had them in the post office 2 days prior to delivering them, but under strict orders, you cannot deliver until this day. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the one for my wife, and I'm like, I can't get it. The Postmaster General will flip out, and I'll get fired if I bring your copy early. So that was how that went.
And that's you respecting a very carefully planned commercial operation as well, which I like. Now, I remember Goblet of Fire coming out. It must have been 2003, I'm going to say, because my wife was pregnant, like 7 months pregnant with our first child. And we decided, all the stories about everything ends for you as adults when you have a child. We thought we'd go on a nice holiday. We went to Malta, to the island of Gozo near Malta, 5-star hotel, had a week there. And Goblet of Fire came out on the day we were leaving, and we were just praying. I mean, I'm not a massive Harry Potter fan, but I read every book, and it became an event when the books came out. So we got our hardback, that red and yellow cover of Goblet of Fire, one each, because we both wanted to read it. And then we sat around the pool, and guess what? If you looked up around the pool, there's these. It was publishing absolutely phenomenal, a phenomena. And you know what? My little thing about J.K. Rowling is that she's probably, I think she must be the most successful self-published author on the planet, because she held on to the rights for the ebooks, certainly in the UK. They're published through her own company, through Pottermore, and they must be, if you look in the charts today, they'll be there now. I think she must be the most successful self-publishing author on the planet. I keep inviting her onto the self-publishing show, but she has yet to respond, I have to say. Does anybody know her?
Yeah, I don't know, or have access to her handlers, because I had Kevin J. Anderson on yesterday, and he talked about that. His Wordfire Press, the latest Dune book, which publishes on the 13th, is by Macmillan. Now, Macmillan only did the paperback rights and the hardback rights in the U.S. So Wordfire, self-published, is doing the hardback and paperback rights out of the UK.
Wow.
So it's interesting. It's a hybrid model. So understand the options you have as an indie, especially in today's landscape. If you're Brian Herbert, of course, you can say, I want the contract only for this. Sometimes if you get offered a contract by a Big Five, you really have no negotiating power because you're an unknown. And so they're publishing the paperback and hardback of Duke of Caladan in the UK under Wordfire, and they're only doing print on demand because, hey, most of the bookstores are closed. They don't care about getting into the brick and mortar bookstores. So it's a different business model, and it's opportunity. Now, I'll say that I invited Brandon Sanderson onto the C&M show to talk about his latest, that Kickstarter, over $7 million in one Kickstarter for a single product. It was a 2-volume leather-bound set of his first book, the 10-year anniversary. $7 million. Yeah. Good for him. Good for him that he has those fans that are willing to buy that custom, with custom illustrations inside, every copy personally signed by Brandon Sanderson. Good for him, good for them, and that's part of business model. And also that goes to rights, owning your rights when you first get started. Don't give away your rights.
Just imagine if, J.K. Rowling wrote, and produced a first edition Harry Potter and did a similar thing. I mean, she doesn't need the extra billions, but she would make billions. In fact, every big author in the world has enough loyal fans that they could raise millions instantly by doing something like that, but they can't because their rights exist in a contract buried in a basement at HarperCollins or Hatchet or wherever.
Yep.
There you go.
So understand that 40 minutes. It's been 40 minutes. Can the crack admin team pick a second winner? I want to hold fingers up because I don't want to insult anybody unintentionally, mind you. Pick a second winner.
I must ask you, how excited were Brian and Kevin about the June film coming out and their plans to coincide and work off that?
They had this whole plan. Duke of Caladan. It was coming out now. The next one, I want to say Princess of Caladan. It's the Duke's wife. It was all, the graphic novel is coming out next month, and all of that was timed to get this huge bump with the December release, and with the kickback of that release. Now all their books are coming out without that extra surge of, hey, here's the movie too. So the mutually supporting movie, Ken McDougall, we have a winner. Thank you, Ken McDougall. Make sure you get us your email address so we can forward that to James and the SPF crew so you can get into the course. But so they lost that opportunity for momentum, and they were a little bit bummed about that. But hey, it's October 13th next year, I believe, when the movie. Oh, geez,
they're playing it safe, aren't they?
Well, and you look for cash flow. It's like, hey, they're out a couple $100 million making this movie, and they just got to sit on that for a year. Yeah. So look at the. If they didn't pay cash for that, they're paying interest for an extra year on all that money, and they have their investors just looking at them, wondering, "Hey, when am I going to get my money back?"
Yeah, and there's James Bond, there's Top Gun 2, there's a lot of big films that are now sitting there. I think they rescheduled Top Gun for December the 23rd, but it wouldn't surprise me if that jumps again.
Yeah, Top Gun 2. We'll see how that one goes. The first one was really hokey as hell, especially being in military intelligence, especially aviation intelligence. It was hokey as hell. I don't know where those F5s came from, but
yeah, well, there was two of them, and they were MiG-28s. I think you'll find. I absolutely loved it. It was sort of a divider at the time in the military circles because most people being 5 yards behind the other aircraft and saying, "I think I'm too close for missiles." Do you think? These F-14 at the time carried a missile that would shoot the other aircraft down from 100 miles away.
Yeah,
and in the film, they're like this. I think I can't get a missile lock on him. Anyway, that doesn't matter to most people who just enjoyed it.
Right.
And
right.
By the time I was sort of spending a bit more time with the Air Force in the late 90s, early 2000s, they quoted Top Gun every 2 seconds in everything they did, because this were the kids who grew up with it and had become fighter pilots because of it. And they were 10 years later flying their Harriers. And he's holding on too tight. Every line was that. So they loved it, and it reinvigorated the whole Top Gun thing. They knew it was silly, but that didn't matter. And Top Gun 2, I think I read Tom Cruise early on said he would only do it if it was as corny, if you like, as the first one. He wasn't interested in changing the tone of it, so it's going to be the same sort of thing again, I think, which would be great. I think.
Yeah. It had a jam and soundtrack. I mean, we liked it. I was in the Marine Corps when it came out, and it was truly bizarre, but it was a fun movie. And I tell you what, military guys, we do love the beach and the beach bodies that you see out there in California, and it was okay.
It was a lot better than Iron Eagle and the stuff that followed it, which was truly awful.
Yeah, let me put on music so I don't hear any of the. You cannot do that when you're flying. There are so many interactions. You can't see them all with your eyes. You need those ears. You need the sense. You need as many senses engaged with the aircraft as you possibly can get. Yeah, putting on music to cut out. It's like covering one eye to do an engagement. It makes just absolutely no sense, but it looked good. And Lou Gossett Jr.
I did see I don't know if you want to set the next question or not, but I did see a question go through about the course, which I will answer in a moment. Do you want to set the next question?
Let me think on the next question. So
okay.
Go ahead and answer the one that popped up.
So I saw a question go through earlier when we were talking about the course, and someone asked, and a good question is, how much time does it take to do it? So there's a couple of answers to that. The first one is that the course is entirely self-paced. So it's there, it's immediately available to you. And we've done this 24-month payment plan, which is a kind of a COVID thing, because we understand that money's a bit tighter, people. So you can pay $29 a month is the cheapest way. And for that 21st installment, which you could do in 10 minutes time, by the way, you get instant access, and then it's up to you from then on how much time and effort you put into doing the course. So you could decide, I'm going to do this, one session a week over 3 months, 4 months, or probably better than that. And they suggested, do I do 2 to 4 hours a day? Is that how much it takes? I would suggest you look through the course contents, you listen to the opening introduction, decide what areas it is you're going to master, and do one area quite intensively. So maybe put aside an afternoon, a couple of days where you're watching it, going online, doing the research, starting the mechanics of it, going back, and then just forget about the rest of it for that time until you've mastered that bit, then move on to the next bit. And that way you can work out your priorities. So at the bottom of the train, you might be doing stuff that's a lower priority for you, such as getting reviews at this stage, or other ways of building a mailing list once you've got the fundamentals done, and you're focusing on the really important stuff for the formatting of your book, making sure that's as good as it can be, understanding what a good cover is, understanding why blurb works and some blurb doesn't work. Focus on those areas, become an expert and a master in those. So really, it's as much time as you want to put into it, but it does benefit from you putting some time aside and mastering areas.
Did Stuart Blatch provide input on the cover section? I thought he had.
Yes, so Stuart does. I have to look up exactly what it's called now, but there is a section in there on cover design, and Brian Cohen does the blurb bit that you get along with it as well. In fact, let me just try and dial it up in front of me, Craig, so I can remind myself, because we bundle quite a lot into it. There's even a YouTube course now, which isn't for everybody, but for some people, particularly non-fiction, or particularly if you've got a kind of niche area, a YouTube channel can be a really great platform for you. So let me have a look at 101.
All right, the next question. What do you hope to get from your author career? What is your first goal that you came up with as part of your author career? So share that with us, and we'll select a wiener towards the end, and that will be it. The 3rd p.m. I saw that both Ellie and Kim have sent us their emails. Thank you very much. We'll get with James. We'll shoot those over as soon as the show's over and get those set up. And also at the end of the show, if you didn't win and still are interested in SPF 101, I'll copy my my affiliate link. If you're going to pay full price, you might as well share it with me and not all of it.
Definitely.
We take those affiliate fees, and we do a lot for the 20 books to 50K. Anything that costs money, we have our own kitty that I'll fund. And it's because of the affiliate links and things like that. And SPF's 101, SPF's generosity with the affiliate rate has helped me offset some costs for 20 Books Vegas. I overspent by $25,000 last year, but we offset that with the affiliate things. And I saw that somebody was from Pittsburgh. I married into Pittsburgh, so we intend to go back to Pittsburgh after Madrid. So hopefully we'll be able to do a luncheon there wherever I go. I want to whip up to Toronto, and because there are some righteous people in Toronto, I want to see Daniel Aronson, Mark Leslie Lefebvre is up there, and have a little get together. Assuming, of course, this is all assuming that COVID is in the rearview mirror. Everybody's got their vaccines. We're all able to group hug again. We don't have to wear masks, and
let's hope so. I did notice Mark Lefebvre earlier saying that when my signal went down, I went off to publish my book, which I think was him.
Yeah. We took the opportunity while you weren't here to talk about you, just like I started the show. So how is that going? Because you already owe me 2 steak dinners, and I think soon it's going to be 3.
I know. It's not going to be good for your health by the time. So the book is with another editor. I went through that process of I think I said to you before of writing it with the help of a book coach, but didn't get it completely read in its entirety. A lot of beta feedback was positive, but one critic who knows what he's talking about said it needs fixing, and also it's 200,000 words. It was too long. So I've hired another development editor who I've got off Reedsy. Had a few conversations with him. The first thing he said to me was, "Oh my God, you're off the self-publishing show. I know who you are," which is great. So he knows, he's part of the community in a wider sense. So he has the book now. He's given me a couple of early notes, which is great. So I get a session back from him, and then we plot a way of making the changes and rewriting the bits we need to rewrite to get that done. Meanwhile, I am halfway through book 2, which is going to be set
out of control.
Yeah, which is actually set 5 years before book 1, and it's set in the United States at Edwards Air Force Base, and it involves Alaska. You'll be pleased to know. So there's the denouement of this takes place right in the north of Alaska. So I'm really enjoying that. And do you know, the biggest thing for me writing book 2 is first of all, I personally think it's a much better, tighter story. I think I learned so much in book 1 about story, and I think in book 1 I was doing a lot of trying to deal with the angst of my father and all the rest, all the stuff that we do as authors. Book 2 is a little bit more like, here's a really rollicking story about a Russian infiltrating, very successful infiltration of a top secret US project. And, it feels to me a much tighter book. Still, I still want there to be character development. And I'm very near the end of your book you've given me, by the way. I should say I've had to divert off and read a load of books for our next Fuse author who we've just signed. But I'm right. So we just passed quite a big moment, and I think we're into the end game now in the book, and I've really enjoyed it. And it's got me, I've been really thinking about this, about character development and that kind of character journey versus story. And I think for me, it's becoming a bit of a tension in my mind, because your book, I've been reading a bit of Ken Follett, and who else I've been reading? I've been reading loads of these guys who write in this kind of action genre. I can't remember the names. I was looking at my Kindle the other day. I thought I must read a James Patterson, and realized I had read one as part of my kind of homework. Now, these guys have, I would say, almost zero character development. But what they do have is, you want to turn the page to find out whether Ivan the Terrible Commie has been assassinated by Jack Marine or not. And that's good enough, right? Because I enjoy that. And you turn the page, and that's what people read on the tube. Yeah, every conversation we have with editors is all about, where's the motivation? Where's it coming from? And what's he thinking at this stage? And your book has so much more character development in it than most of those other kind of Ken Follett type genre books. And I'm enjoying it for that, because I'm getting to know these guys. I'm seeing mistakes that they're making, whereas that perhaps doesn't happen so much in the kind of Jack Hero way. The mistake is a rather obvious one and usually not his fault. Whereas in your book, the guy's flawed a bit, right? He's making, I think, for a professional assassin, he's making some decisions that aren't really going to be helpful to his,
or not career enhancing. Yeah,
career enhancing, and that's great. But it's really making me question the page-turning, story-driven genre novel that people will rip through on the, Mark Dawson probably, I've read a couple of John Milton's like that, versus a bit more, this is where I come from, this is what I'm thinking about, this is the complexities of life that I've encountered. I think there's a tension there, and I haven't quite worked it out.
And that's John. I'm an adherent to John Truby and his style, and he says that nothing moves a story forward better than the characters. Yes, we all like Star Wars for the special effects and stuff like that. He said, but the characters really moved it forward, and you embrace them. You embraced Han Solo. I mean, scruffy looking nerve herder. I mean, how do you get better lines than that with that tension that then goes through the movies? It's the characters who move the story forward, and not all of this other special stuff. That adds, that's the color within it. That's the three-dimensionality of the scenes, but it's still every scene is carried on the back of a character. Otherwise, what are you looking at? You're just looking at pictures on a screen. So thank you for the kind words on my book, and you're halfway through. And I just want to say that, hey, isn't it surprising how when you write, you get better at writing? So, and you get more comfortable with, oh, hey, this plot device, I did that and I struggled over it in the last book, but this one, hey, I won't write myself into that corner. I'm going to keep moving forward, and hey, this and then this, I have that. I describe it as a string of pearls, and those pearls are the scenes, and you tie each one off. So, when somebody rips it off your neck, all the pearls don't fall on the floor. Only one does. And you tie those pearls together, you have the scenes, and all of a sudden you've got a story. You clasp it together, declare victory, and publish it, which is normal. That's what normal people do, is they publish the book.
Overrated. Yeah.
Normal people.
We're getting there. We're on the runway now.
Are you?
Now.
Do you have a sense of when? Does your developmental editor?
I did. I mean, I said to him, Top Gun 2 was rescheduled for December the 23rd. And I did say to him, I'd love to get it out in place of Christmas. And he said, depending on what you're doing in October, it's possible. So, but that's before he'd read it. That's when we had our initial discussions. And he was vaguely aware of the book from the podcast. So we'll find out. There is going to be definitely some work involved. There's no question about that. And we'll just have to because it's not like I'm not busy with everything else. So it's we'll have to find some time to slot it in.
Are you keeping it at companies? Are you keeping it at 200,000 words?
No, I don't. No. I'm never writing another 200,000 word book in my life. It's impossible to do anything with. Every little thing you do with it is a massive
cascade of that.
Yeah, it's just too big. And the copy editing went on forever. And no, I want books to be 80 to 100 and 120 perhaps tops. I mean, I do write quite long, which sort of surprises me because I was in the BBC. You told complex stories in 45 seconds. That's what you taught to do. And now I find myself, I'm probably, I think I have to check my word count actually, but I think I'm 35,000 words, which is probably 10,000 over for where I should be at this stage in the book. So I do tend to write long, but for me, that's also something else I've learned for this process, is not to keep going back and trying to fix things. As I've got a slight problem at the moment, which put me off writing for 6 days, just because in my mind was, I've got to go back and read 5 because I got a bit lost on something. And then this morning I had this epiphany. I thought, it doesn't bloody matter. Just get back in there, write forward. That's what the second draft is for. The second draft is for fixing those small little things where you went out of order on a scene. Just keep writing forward. So I just opened it and started writing again this morning. And
good.
Which of course is the right way to do it.
Good to hear.
I think
really good to hear.
I think your affiliate code has been posted there, which is a very important link for people to press if they're interested in reading. Also, if you press that, you'll go onto a page that gives you a load of really useful information about the course and a chat box. And John Dyer and Catherine and Tom are in the background, and sometimes Mark and me as well in the background to answer those questions. And people often ask, what's actually in the course. It's all spelled out on that page.
What are some highlights? What are some of the main takeaways that people get after they've taken the course? Some comments and things that you can share that are hooks. Why should somebody take this course?
I think there's one main takeaway that comes back time and time again for people who've been successful with it, and they say, this course taught me to treat writing like a business. Yeah. That's the one thing. And we've had this discussion before. It's about a mindset more than it is the detail. And once you're into that mindset, the detail makes much more sense at that point. And the decisions you make about writing and structuring your day are all focused around this being a career that can earn you money. So treating it as a business, I think, is the biggest single thing you get, and understanding how that works from the course. You mentioned, so I'm just having a look, I think the pre-publication section of the 101 course, which is module 2, it's about looking at it about 12, 13 sessions. And one of them is indeed on the cover. So I had to remind myself it's a 46-minute session. And most of that is Stuart Bache explaining why you don't want a piece of artwork that looks pretty and beautiful on your wall. You want a piece of artwork that sells a book. And that's a different thing.
Completely different.
Yeah, completely different. And it starts with you studying what's selling at the moment and what the covers are. And Stuart's great mantra is that being different is the enemy here. Being same is the right thing to do. And people get this wrong at every level in life. Think we've got to look for the next new thing, the next different thing. And actually people want the same thing, that they read the same type of book. They might change their genre, but over 10 years, they'll read. I've got friends who read. One of my friends is reading Dawson at the moment. He's into book 17. In the Flash, he discovered him the other week. That's what people do. He's reading book 17 because it's the same as book 16 or similar. He knows what he's going to get. So covers incredibly important to be similar to the genre, to the expectations, but that's not intuitive. And you watch this session, so that's a really good session. So in pre-publication, as I say, I think my favorite module, you've got an hour on the blurb. That's with Brian. You've got metadata, and I think we have Dave Chesson comes in as the guest on the metadata section to explain that. And that's quite a geeky session. There's a 15-minute discussion on pricing. which again is not intuitive. Most of us, I mean, I scratch my head. I market books like you do, Craig, now, and I actually, pricing isn't. You could talk for a long time just on pricing.
I wrote a whole book on pricing.
Yeah, exactly. Your reader magnet, how that works. The mailing list landing page, automation sequences, how an automation sequence works, and then we keep a lot of the really geeky detail out and put it in the tech library below. So once you've read the concepts, the theory of what you're doing, you then go to the tech library and say, okay, I'm going to use MailerLite. In which case, I pick out this session, which is one of the sessions I've done, in fact. And that takes you through the process, literally takes you through the process of setting up a mailing list in MailerLite and running ads to it and so on. So, yeah, I mean, it's like I say, the big thing is understanding the platform that's going to be a business for you and treating your life like a business, your new life as a writer, commercial writer, and the small things, all the detail, which changes from time to time as well.
Yeah. But SPF 101, with any SPF course, you have lifetime access. So once you buy SPF 101 or win it, you will be there. And if something changes, if MailChimp goes down and disappears forever, or MailerLite disappears forever, and a replacement comes in, they'll do a module on the replacement, and there you go. You just dive back in and do that module and go back to town. It's a great thing to set you up. And I've talked to like James and Mark. I talked to a lot of authors and a number of seven-figure authors, and I think the absolute one consistent element for seven-figure authors is they really get the business side. They embrace that as part of, and Mark is creative. He writes great stories. They're gripping, and they move forward. They have John Milton, the character that everybody loves, but he loves the business side too. He embraces that. Us former lawyers, I guess it's just a burden we have to carry, but the business. And that is what takes you from 100,000 a year to $1 million a year. That because it takes more than just a great story. As bizarre and odd as that seems, you have to start with the great story, but you need to really then make it a business. And that's where, when you start you publish a book, you publish a couple books, you've got 3 out, you start marketing book 1, and all of a sudden you're up to 5,000 a month, 8,000 a month. Now you have established that your books are viable. Now to go to the next level, that's where you really need to, like an ads for authors course, which, when will that come out?
We're probably going to do that in January now. So there is a possibility we'll do it this side of Christmas, but I think we're just too busy. So it's very likely to be January 21. And this 101, by the way, won't open again until March at the earliest, 21. So this will close up next week, and that'll be it until March.
Yeah, screw 2020. We're not doing anything new until 2021.
Done with 2020.
Yeah, it can suck it. So I'm surprised you didn't comment that I dressed up for this. I'm not wearing a hoodie. So
are you wearing your DPMs?
I am wearing a Treasure Island shirt.
Oh. So I was looking at it. I couldn't work out whether it was a Hawaiian shirt or camouflage.
It's a brown Hawaiian. So anyway, I'll try to wear Hawaiian shirts whenever I do a show. But we have SPF 101. It is time. We've been 63 minutes. Crack admin team, if you guys, and thank you very much for following this. I'm sure you have a chat channel going where you're running through these, and pick our last winner. We have our 2 email addresses. We'll send those to James. Whoever the winner is, please contact us right away through an admin PM, and give us your email. And
there we go. Laura Burton.
Laura Burton, congratulations, Laura. Hey, I know a couple months ago I have a 30-minute mentoring session with Laura, actually. Because I did 2 30-minute mentoring sessions as part of a different giveaway a few months ago. We did the first, and I contacted her just a couple days ago saying, "Hey, we never did the second." And she says, "Oh, the whole household is sick." So please, Laura, get better. You and your household. I hope you get over your sickness, and we'll get back on it. We'll do a follow-up 30-minute, and then SPF 101 will fill in all the rest of those holes that I left with my random scattered thoughts.
Well,
so you guys are great.
It's been a really good thing to do. I also want to say that I've been reading every comment that's been mentioned. There's been some really good comments about the processes that we've been talking about, and some nice comments as well about us, which is very lovely. Thank you very much indeed. I'm very excited to welcome our new 20 Books 101ers. And yeah, for everybody else, there's that link.
And thanks, James, for coming on and talking to us about ancillary about SPF 101. And of course, we ramble because that's what we do on this show. It's the great thing about being an indie author is the opportunity to connect with other indie authors. We work alone. As soon as James logs off, if he has an idea, he's going to jump back on his computer and start jamming on his book again. I've got a story in the background that I'm going to do, and I see Lass McMaster has been giving me some comments regarding my book. She's doing a read-through to see if it targets romantic suspense as well as thriller. James has read almost all of it. And I tell you what, a romantic suspense author said, this is perfect for my readers, which was really bizarre to me because I wrote it as a thriller.
I had to say there's a lot more romance than I was expecting, Craig Martelle. You're a dark horse.
But you weren't offended by it, and you read anyway. So this is...
I think there needs to be more... That's my dad. I think there needs to be more detail in the sex scenes, but apart from that's just me. I'm joking.
Closed door.
It's a closed door book, isn't it?
But
although she does walk around naked quite a lot.
There is a lot of nakedness. Yeah. Sleep naked, walk around naked. It's so much naked. But imagine my market. So instead of targeting just Mark Dawson with my ads, now I'm targeting romantic suspense authors. And so that the opportunity there really opened my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, imagine if I can double an audience. Because what are the two biggest audiences in the world? Romance and thriller. Yeah. Imagine if I can get my fingers into both. Not get my fingers. I'm not trying to do anything untoward. It's just if this book appeals, hey, that's
thrillers that appeal to women or romance readers, I should say, not to generalize too much, but thrillers that appeal to romance readers. That's your one.
So I have high hopes. We'll see what we can do and get there. But SPF 101, the course as a foundation, so $597 if you just do a one-time payment, $59 for 12 payments, $54 for
59, I think.
59, okay, for
59 for 12, 29 for 24.
And there you go. Bob's your uncle. You can get the course and 30-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. So if you get it, you start running through the modules and say, oh, I know this stuff or this isn't going to help me. Get your money back and go back to doing what you're doing and keep moving forward. So no matter what, keep moving forward. It's not like we're trying to sell this course. We're trying to give you options. And that's 20 books to 50K provides options. SPF community provides you options to move your forward career at your pace because you're an indie. We work alone, but we're better together. And this gives us a chance to be together while still working from the privacy of our own houses. So thank you, James, for coming on the show. I don't have another show lined up. I'll have Becca Syme on in a few weeks. I'm going to Vegas a week from today. I will be in Vegas, staying at Bolly's is hosting me for a week where I'm going to stay there. I'm going to live the dream as if it's the conference, and hopefully we're going to have everything set up. So when we put this thing out and say, here it is, we're going to have an initial schedule. We're going to have an initial diagram. We're going to have everything to make you feel comfortable with staying at Bolly's and a show at Bolly's. We're going to be right on the strip. There will be unlimited opportunities for fine dining because we're on the strip. You'll be able to walk to any restaurant you want and have a great time. And Mark will stay at the Wynn because that's where he stays, and he'll stroll down because it's only 10 minutes away because it's the strip. So great year. 2021 is going to be a great year. 2020 behind us. That's yes. It'll be behind us.
2020. That's 21.
Two fingers for your efforts. Two fingers for 2020.
The Agincourt salute, we call it.
All right. Everybody have a great day. Thank you for joining the show, and we will catch you next time. Thanks, James.
Thanks, Craig. I absolutely loved it.